Hey class, what's going on? Welcome back for another episode of Math 1 Distance Learning, room 1809. We've been doing this for a while now. Maybe you're watching this video and we're not on distance learning. Maybe this is next year when you're watching it and you're just homesick. Okay, so we've been working on inequalities, and today we're going to work on inequalities that are a little trickier for some of you, and that's the at most and the at least. So you know how to do the greater than and less than, but many of you get confused on the at most and the at least when you are looking at them in a word problem. So that's what we're going to focus on today. Let me go ahead and flip over to my DocuCam and we'll get started. Okay, so in this assignment, it says that we want to solve each inequality. So we're just going to solve them, and they're pretty easy. And then we're going to determine the possible solutions for x. Then we're going to decide, is the solution for x, is an at most. Oops, I wrote that wrong. Then decide if, that should be if the solution for x is an at most or an at least. So then decide if the solution for x is an at most or an at least, okay? And then I'm showing you here, when we write the solution in words, we're gonna, here's my little hint, a number that is, okay? All right, so here we go. So on this first one, we'll just go ahead and solve it first. So the first thing I want to do, I want to isolate my variable. So we're going to subtract 7 from both sides. So these cancel right there, and we get 30 minus 7 is 23. So we don't know what the little story or scenario that goes with this. All we know is that we're talking about all the numbers or any number that is less than or equal to 23. Okay, so we're looking for all numbers that are less than or equal to 23. Now, we have to use the phrase at most or the phrase at least. So anytime you have a less than or equal to, many of you pick this one because you know that's less and that sounds like less, but really this is the one that we want. We're saying that we're looking for any number that is the most it could be is 23, but it could be smaller. Okay, so a number that is at most 23. So the most it can be is 23. All right, so a number that is at most 23. Okay, let's try the next one. On number 2 here, so I'm going to add 10 to both sides. 85 plus 10 is 95. So we have all numbers or a number greater than or equal to 95. So which one is this? Well, if this one is an at most, then a greater than is an at least. So what we're saying is we want numbers that are bigger than 95, but the smallest it could be is 95. So at least 95, but we want something bigger, right? Like if we're getting money for our birthday, we want at least $95, but we would accept more than that. But that's the smallest we would want for birthday money. Okay, so a number that is at least 95. So that's how we would do that, at least 95. Okay, all right, let's go to the next one. Number 3, so we have x plus 100 is less than or equal to 1,100. So I'm going to subtract 100. So here I'm going to subtract 100 and I'm going to be left with 1,000. So this is less than or equal to 1,000. So we're saying any number that is less than or equal to 1,000, any number that is at most 1,000. So the most it could be. So maybe if you're talking about like one of your friends and their Instagram likes or something, you're like, yeah, they got a lot of likes, but it was at most 1,000. right? If they're bragging, they're like, yeah, I got 10,000 likes. And then you're like, no, you got at most 1,000. Okay. So if we were going to write that, I'm going to come all the way down to here. We would say a number that is, oops, gave Ray the answer to the other one. A number that is at most 1,000. A number that is at most 1,000. But it's probably less. It's probably less than that, but it's at most 1,000. Okay. All right. And then number 4. Number 4, the first thing we're going to do is subtract 20. So I get 55 minus 20 is 35. And then I want to come over here and divide by 2. So I'm going to divide by 2. My 2's cancel. And I get 35 over 2. If you have a calculator, you can do that. If not, we can do the little subtraction. So 2 goes into 35, 17. 17 times 2 is 34. Bring the 1 down, and then bring a 0 down. 2 goes into 10, and this becomes 17.5 or 1750. So if we were thinking like money, this would be $17.50. Okay, so on this problem, we would say this is a greater than or equal to. So we're looking for an amount that is greater than or equal to 1750. But we have to use the words at most or at least. And so we want to say, well, we really want more than 1750, but the lowest that we'll take is 1750. So it's a number that is at least 1750. A number that is at least 1750. We want it to be bigger, but it could be this. That's the lowest we'll accept is 1750. Okay. All right. So that's a little practice. Now the next thing you're going to do is in your assignment there, you're going to work on writing inequality word problems using the words at most and at least. So you're going to write them yourself. Okay. All right. So on your page, it should look something like this. And this is writing inequality stories. So we're going to write inequalities. Okay, so you're going to write a short story, and then you have to use the words at most or at least. You have to use either this or this in your description. Okay. All right. And then the next thing that you'll do is you'll solve the inequality to find the possible solutions. And then finally, in words, write your possible solutions. So finally, in words, write the possible solutions for the inequality. Okay. So here is the first one right here. And so on this problem, it's a money problem. Down here is, here is your inequality. And what we have to do is we have to write a story that matches this. Now, one way to do this, I'll model number 1 for you, and then you have to do numbers 2, 3, and 4 on your own. But one way to do this is instead of writing the story first, let's go solve it, and then we can go back and write the story. Okay, so if I solve this, okay, so I'm going to solve this. So x plus 7 is less than or equal to 30. This is actually the same problem that you had in your warm-up. It was problem number 1 in the warm-up. So I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides, and I'm going to get x is less than or equal to 23. Okay, now we know what our actual solution is. So now we can go back and write the story. So we have to remember, this is less than or equal to. So is it an at most or an at least? And this is an at most 23. Okay, so now let's go back and let's try and write a story that matches this. Okay, so I'm going to go back up here. Okay, so it has to be about money. And so I said, I had some money. and then I earned $7. I had some money, and then I earned $7 for washing the car. Okay, so I had some money. So I'm just going to write what I see. I had some money, and then I earned plus 7. I earned $7 for washing the car, but my total amount, so whatever my total amount of money was at most $30. So we don't know how much we had originally. We did figure it out down below. But right here, this is unknown. So I had some money. Then I earned $7 for washing the car. But my total was at most $30. So even after washing the car, I only had at most $30. So here's the story. Wrote the story that matches that. And then we went and we solved it. And now let's go write the solution. So our solution is, so possible solutions would be my original starting amount of money. So how much we originally started with, amount of money was less than or equal to $23. And where did I get that 23? I got that from right there, right? So my original starting amount was less than or equal to 23, or was at most $23. It was at most $23. So what I had in my piggy bank, or what I started with, was at most $23. Okay, so let's go back and we'll look one more time at the original problem. So here was the original problem. We don't know what this is. So we wrote a little story to match it. Okay, so I had some money, and then I earned $7, but it was still at most 30. Now we have to figure out, well, what was the possible solution? So the solution was less than or equal to 23. So that means my starting amount of money was less than or equal to $23. It was at most $23. So in my piggy bank, I had at most $23. Okay, so now what do you have to do? So you have to now go and do problem 2, which is a temperature problem. So I'm already telling you what the story is about. So it's got to be about temperature. Okay, so this is some unknown amount. So you could say today's temperature was unknown, or I wasn't sure what today's temperature was, but then it dropped, right? It dropped 10 degrees. And then you have to figure out, is this an at most or an at least? Because you have to use the words at most or at least. And then is it an at most or an at least 85 degrees? So write your story. Then you have to go and solve it. And then you have to go down below and you have to write the possible solutions. Okay. And then on number 3, you have an elevation problem. I've already given this to you. We did this in the warm-up. Now you need to write a story. And then on number 4, I also already gave that problem to you. You now need to go and write a story that goes with it. Okay, so we've already solved them in the warm-up. So you have to go and solve them once again down below. So make sure you solve them down here. Okay, and then this one, right, you're solving this right here. And then you have to write your possible solutions. Okay, so 4 problems. Actually 3, because I already did one with you. Make sure you show all of your work the way that I showed you, and you should be good. That should be a good practice for you. And that assignment, that lesson shouldn't take you too long. Okay? All right, so I will see you next class. We'll see you. Bye.